Okay, episode 5, all things boxing. We've been away for a bit due to the Christmas break and the New Year's, but we're back now. Hasn't been a whole heap happening in boxing, at least in the UK. Boxing was suspended in January by the Boxing British Border Control due to the coronavirus and the spread of it. The first show back is a boxer show on Sky Sports. Domestic matchup between Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams. So, Josh, tell me your thoughts on the fight firstly, or the making of the fight, to be honest.
It's a good fight, good kind of fight I want to see Eubank Jr. in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's in enough of these fights, whether that's his fault or not.
When you say these fights,
competitive fights that you look at it and you think, yeah, he might not win the fight. And I honestly think it's going to be a very tough fight for him. Liam Williams is rugged, skillful, come forward, has only lost to Liam Smith and Boo Boo Andrade, who arguably, Liam Smith was a world title holder not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Andrade is one of the top guys in the division at the moment. But then again, Liam Williams on his record has had some decent domestic bouts, but not really stepped up.
And
other than the Andrade fight, he hasn't really stepped up. He fought Liam Smith quite early on.
Yeah, lost twice to Liam Smith, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think it's a tough fight for Eubank. Personally, I think I've got Williams winning it.
Oh, do you? I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it will be a bit of a tear up.
What on points?
I just think Liam Williams will be able to take him the distance,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he will have the skill to beat him over the 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said before about Eubank, I don't think he's really improved in the area. I mean, this Roy Jones venture is it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I don't think we've really got to see what's come of it yet. He could go in there and surprise us, but the Eubank Jr. of the last 3-4 years, I don't think he beats Liam Williams unless Liam Williams has a bad night.
Yeah, I think for me, it's hard with Eubank Jr. because, not hard, but he's Chris Eubank Sr.'s son. So there's obviously a lot of expectation and there's a lot of power behind him, whether he's with, doesn't matter. When he was on Channel 5, there was a lot behind him. Now he was with Sky, there's a lot behind him. So they throw him in our face a lot. And that can, whether you like it or not, that can affect how you view a fighter. I just feel, for me, I just don't know how good he is. I mean, who's his best win? You would say James DeGale, who was obviously way past it. He's lost to George Groves, may it be a super middle. And then George Groves went on and got stopped by Callum Smith in the next fight. And he's lost to Billy Joe Saunders, got out.
Very early doors.
Yeah, early doors, but it was kind of early doors for Billy Joe as well.
Yeah.
It's not like Billy Joe was any more in his prime than Eubank was. So I don't know. I'm just not really sold on Eubank, to be honest. I just don't know what to make of him, and I think he is going on to what you said, the Roy Jones Jr. thing. I think he is a bit lost in styles. I think he's had 2 fights under Jones Jr. now. He had Mark Morrison and that other kind of stay ready fight.
Yeah, he's been a bit unlucky as well with kind of pullouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And because of the COVID situation as well, it's probably been slow.
Yeah, it has. But I think he's a come forward fighter. He's a pressure fighter. He puts his hands together. And when I saw him against Mark Morrison, trying to actually not just box more, but trying to box like Roy Jones Jr.
Didn't look great, did it?
Yeah, it didn't look comfortable. Like with the feints and with the lead left hook, it was just like a bit too much. But at the same time, he had the luxury of having that opponent in front of him where he could try that stuff. I just don't know if he tries to box Liam Williams. Is it the best plan to win the fight? What else was I going to say? I feel like Liam Williams has gone from Dom Ingle to Adam Booth on a last minute kind of, I don't know if you heard about that, but he's gone to Adam Booth on a last minute thing. I don't know if that's the best move for him. Adam Booth is a very patient. He teaches his fighters to be quite back foot and patient. Liam isn't like that. Like you said, he's a come forward fighter. He's quite rugged. So I'm not really sure what Liam's thought process is behind that stylistically, like how Adam can help him, or is it just like I heard, like I said off camera, he gave an interview to a couple of days ago, and he was saying just about where he lives, it's easier for him to not be in Sheffield. So, but I don't know what Adam Booth can do for him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at this stage. I don't know exactly when that happened, but
what's that?
That actual move. Obviously, I know he's announced it, but when it actually happened, we don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe at this stage, there isn't. Adam Booth's not going to try and change a lot. I don't think he's quite simple in the way he boxes, and I think he will probably go in. I personally believe he's just going to go in there and try and stick it on Eubank Jr. He's going to believe that he's tougher than him. He's going to believe that he's probably stronger than him as well. But just going back to Eubank quickly, I think when he came onto the scene, and I remember when he came onto the scene, or maybe a few fights into his career, he was Chris Eubank's son. He has the same name as Chris Eubank. He comes with that same kind of aura that Chris Eubank used to have, like he walks around with his head high in the air, like, do you know what I mean? Like he does early on he used to do all the jump
over the ring and
the little posing in the ring, you know what I mean? And I think like I bought into it 100%. And I think at that point he had so much potential as well. He had this mad engine. He can obviously fight 12 rounds and keep going. He's obviously quite tough, but he just hasn't improved.
Yeah.
And if you look at like all what we've said about Conor Benn, the amount of improvement Conor Benn's made in the last 2 years, imagine what Eubank Jr. would be if he had made those kind of improvements up until now.
Well, let's look at the comparisons. Like obviously Conor Benn, we're not going to talk too much about him because we speak about him like all the time. He stayed with one trainer. He gives a lot of credit to his trainer, to his teachers, to his team. And on the flip side, you got Eubank, who just says, at the time, was it Ronnie Davis?
It was Ronnie and his dad, didn't it?
Yeah, but more Ronnie, he was saying, isn't my coach. I don't need a coach. I just kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
So the complete opposite. And although I'm sure Conor Benn is aware of who his dad is and who he is in England, it's like you say, with the aura and the swagger and the demeanor, I feel like Chris Eubank probably believed in that a lot more, like in himself. Like he kind of gassed himself up a little bit. Whereas Conor, I'm not sure Conor was as aware of that. Does that make sense? He probably didn't buy into their own hype as much. Yeah. He must have, because he knows who his dad is, but he probably didn't buy into his own hype as much as Eubank did. So yeah, complete kind of opposites. But yeah, you're right. If he had been improving over the last 2-3 years, yeah, he could be. I think he could be in another place.
I think the stage that we first saw Conor at compared to when we first saw Eubank Jr., they were both very raw, but I think Conor was a lot more less talent. He's a lot less talented than maybe what Eubank Jr. was coming into it.
Yeah.
But it does baffle me with Eubank Jr. because it's like you got to consider what you guys go through as fighters, how you try and improve, the amount of work you put in. He's got all the guidance there he needs in his father. And I'm pretty sure Eubank Sr. took a lot on board from those that were trying to teach him how to be a good fighter. Obviously, he had the heavy hands, he had the granite chin, which are things you can't teach. But he was a very skilled boxer as well.
Yeah, 100.
But for Eubank Jr. to go into the ring and do some of the things he does sometimes, it's like, I don't know how involved Eubank Sr.'s been in terms of his development, and we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. He might be as stubborn as he appears to be, and just doesn't listen to anyone.
Yeah,
and you see the sparring videos where he's just throwing that same uppercut all the time, like against guys that are lighter than him or guys that are just completely useless. And it's like what's going on over there, man? Like what has been going on all these years? With a career that could have been so much more. Like he could have been the big draw, middleweight, where there's some big names that he's missed out on. Let's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have said he had the ability to beat Billy Joe. at the stage he fought it.
Yeah.
Then you got guys like Triple G who are probably a bit past it now, and who I've heard that he's still chasing.
Pursuing,
But Canelo, Andrade.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Liam Williams has fought at that level before he has. You know. But all that said, I do like Chris Eubank Jr. I like what he brings to the sport. I like the arrogance that he's got. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think you need these kind of characters and someone to bring that kind of bravado into the ring sometimes. And he's made, again, he's someone you still want to watch, even if he's fighting someone you never heard of.
Yeah.
You know.
Just for me, I didn't want to interrupt because you was making good points, but when you spoke of Conor Benn, I spoke about the trainer thing. I was trying to count in my head how many trainers he's had. He's had obviously Ronnie Davis. He had Adam Booth for a very short period. Yeah. And Adam Booth left. Do you remember? He actually left. They had an argument in the gym over rest periods in between sparring, and Adam wanted it to be one way and Chris wanted it to be another way. And I believe Chris got out of the ring and left the gym. And it's like that kind of attitude towards someone that, okay, you pay them, you know, but it's like
very experienced.
What? Yeah, like you're Chris Eubank Sr. or not, like why are you bringing someone on board if you're not going to take heed to what they're saying? Then he went to that guy in Las Vegas. When he went to a guy in Las Vegas to fight DeGale. Yeah. Young,
I remember
guy. That. Then he was been on and off with Floyd Mayweather Sr.
Yeah.
And now he's been with Roy Jones. One thing I have to say though, I've not heard him speak about Roy Jones like
disregarded.
Yeah,
like because he can't.
He's been but he's been bigging up everything that Roy does. Yeah. Whereas with Adam, it was just like Adam's there. Even Floyd Sr., like he's just there. Ronnie, he's just there. My dad, he's just there. But with Roy, he gives, you know, he admires Roy quite a lot.
And I think that might have been what he needed from the start. Someone where, because even though it's his dad, and there's a lot to say about the whole dad being in the camp kind of thing, something we'll talk about at a later date. But you could argue that he never has had any not to disregard his dad's achievements at all, but he probably saw himself as someone superseding that 10 times over, you know, being an undisputed world champion at middleweight.
Yeah.
When you put someone like Roy Jones Jr. there, who, in my opinion, is the greatest ever, it's like there's nothing that will come out of Roy Jones's mouth that Chris Eubank Jr. can really argue with until he's gone and done what he's done, you know?
Yeah. Which he's not going to do.
Which he's not going to do now. So it's way too late.
But he's just not going to do it anyway.
He's not. Yeah. But you know what I mean? So maybe if he had a Roy Jones Jr. or someone of that I think caliber.
I'm gonna say this, I don't think it's the caliber necessarily, because look, I gotta say, Ronnie Davis is enough of a caliber. Or has enough caliber. But although he's grown up around him, he's probably known him, that's like his grandfather kind of thing. But you see that with Andre Ward and Virgil Hunter. Grandfather, you've known him from young, but you still hold him in high esteem.
But that's a different character.
100. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Adam Booth, another guy you should be listening to. Floyd Sr., another guy you should be listening to. But my thing with Roy Jones, from what I see, is that Roy Jones is very relaxed. I don't think he grabs a hold of Eubanks. Yeah. And I think it's got to be like more than what you're teaching Eubank. I think he needs someone to actually grab hold of him. We spoke about this guy before, Kenny Porter. Yeah. Someone like that. Someone who is like, it's my will against yours. Like, not you're just going to have to listen, but like you got to disregard what you want to do and put first what I want you to do. And I don't even think he can do that with Roy, because I don't necessarily feel like Roy, from all the interviews and knowing how Roy was as a fighter, someone who he wasn't necessarily, I don't want to say this the wrong way, because he was trained by his dad and the other guy, he had his whole career. But it's like Roy kind of did his own thing a lot, like a lot of talent.
Yeah.
I just don't see Roy putting his foot on Eubank's neck and showing him that, look, everything that I say goes, not so much in the training camp, but just more in the 3 minutes of the fight, you know? So I don't know. And that fight there, that relationship there has not stood the test of time. They've had 2 fights together, maybe 3, but against lesser opponents who Chris could have won against with me or you in his corner. So we'll see. And Roy Jones, as much as like he's one of my favorites, he's unproven as a trainer.
Oh yeah.
You understand?
And you can't even. I don't even think he would be able to teach what he was able to do.
This is my problem. So when I'm seeing Eubanks on the pads with Roy, it's like it's hard to talk bad about Roy. And I'm not talking bad about him, but I'm saying it looks like he's trying to mimic what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it's like
you can't do it.
One thing, you can't necessarily do it. Two, it's the complete opposite of what you're good at doing. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like the counter punching thing. Okay, you've got fast hands, but it's a different kind of fast hands to what Roy had. But the counter punching thing, the outthinking your opponent,
which is why he looked very forced, or not forced, but he looked very he was thinking a lot about what he was
almost
doing.
Too much.
It
almost too much. Almost too much. So yeah, I don't have the experience to kind of say this, but like this podcast is just about sharing our thoughts, and isn't it? I don't know how good it is that he's moved around so much. Even now, he's not full time with Roy.
Yeah.
Only for camps, obviously, because they live in different places. But yeah, just going back to the fight. If Liam Williams comes to him and they fight how their natural styles are, I feel like Eubank will win because it's going to be like a war of attrition.
What, stoppage or?
Yeah, I think so. Because I don't see anybody, credit to Eubank Jr.
Out.
I don't see anyone like necessarily outworking him. And I don't see necessarily anyone stopping him. You know, and maybe a prime Triple G could have done it.
But has anyone, even in the fights he's lost, no one's really like stuck it on him?
I think it's hard to stick it on him though. I do.
But I think Liam Williams will. And I don't think Liam Williams will get knocked out, but remember, Liam Williams has been in there with his last fight. Was it his last fight against
Andrade?
Yeah.
Last fight.
Was that his last fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got dropped in the first round or the second round. He got wobbled.
But he's been in there with caliber. Yeah.
But okay, George Groves, Billy Joe Saunders, he fought Canelo. I know he lost, but okay, George Groves, James DeGale, who else did Eubank fought? James DeGale, George Groves. Who else is it? Billy Joe.
Yildirim,
Arthur Abraham. Slightly a better track record there.
Yeah. All right.
Because if you take away Boba Andrade, who's a southpaw.
You know what it is? I just don't see him teeing off on Liam Williams.
No, I don't think that either. I don't think that
he tees off on guys. And I think if it goes 12 rounds, I think Liam Williams would have won the fight.
Yeah. Possibly.
If he stops Liam Williams, that's a different thing.
I haven't seen Liam Williams' engine though, bro. Like I've seen Eubank Jr.'s.
Yeah, but then
like it's hard to outwork Eubank Jr. I believe, but it depends.
But then he's not the same. Judging by his last two fights, and
if he tries to box, his punch output's going to be lower. He's going to be more on the back foot.
And is he just going to go in there and have like a clash of in his own head of what he should be doing in there?
Yeah, and that's what I think it is. He's lost in between
because
styles.
he's probably gonna go in there. I mean, look, if you're trying to box better, Liam Williams is probably the ideal kind of fighter to do that against because he's going to come forward. He's going to give you the opportunity to throw out your jab, something that Eubank Jr. just seems completely reluctant to do. Yeah. So, I don't know. It would be a good fight. Yeah, it'd be a good fight. And I think it's a tough fight for Eubank Jr. at this stage. Very dangerous fight for him as well. Because if he does lose that, then he's got a problem on his hands in terms of where he wants to go.
Yeah, because I mean, for the longest time, they've been calling out Triple G. He's been saying Canelo, and obviously we're from the UK, so like I said, they push him a lot, and I think that them fights could still get made because of his name somewhat, but he does have to be careful because of how he's approaching these fights. And I think for me, the most embarrassing one was the George Groves defeat. Yeah, you know, I know it was at super middle, but there was the talk leading up to the fight and the disrespect to Shane and, you know, being a PE teacher and all this kind of stuff. Like, and
to go in and lose it the way you lost it.
Bro, he really got dominated.
Yeah, and it's just, he's had a very frustrating career for me. And I saw up until a stage, I saw Conor Benn's career go in a similar direction of him just really not reaching the heights they're saying he was gonna reach.
But now he's looking more
But
promising.
now he's looking like a top 10
Yeah.
fighter, you
Yeah.
know. And Eubank Jr. has just never really been there. He's always been the name, the bravado. He carries a lot of noise around him, and I think that's what's got him through to this point. So yeah, and yeah, it's just disappointing for me.
Yeah.
Just disappointing.
I agree. But yeah, it's a good fight. And I don't know. I just, as much as I agree with what we're saying about Eubanks, I look at Liam Williams'
There's no one really on
box
there, is
rec.
there?
Yeah, look, you've got Mark Heffron, British, Daryl Sharp,
domestic
British. You know, he lost to Liam Smith. I know it was in 2017, but would Eubank Jr. lose to Liam Smith? I don't necessarily think so.
What, right now?
At any real point.
What, even when he was like world
I mean,
champ?
we saw him fight Fowler the other day. We saw him fight Canelo. Well, I've seen him fight
I
Canelo.
think maybe right now Eubank might.
Even when he fought, I don't know, maybe it's just a style for me.
No, I think you got to give Liam Smith a bit more credit.
I don't not give him credit, but like Liam Williams lost to him twice in a row. I just don't see.
Yeah, but Liam Smith is good, bro.
I'm not saying he's so good.
He's a good fighter. Like
I know.
I personally think anyone that has got any kind of
Boxing
resilience
ability.
and boxing
Yeah,
ability
yeah, can deal
will
with.
kind of beat Eubank Jr.
I've not. Look, go on.
If you're gonna let him tee off on you,
Yeah.
then you're gonna lose because eventually you're gonna get hurt. Because he knows that's one thing Eubank. I don't think there's
He's a
anyone
finisher,
that can throw them power punches the way he does.
Yeah.
He throws them a lot, and he doesn't seem to
Get tired.
And if he does, he gets a second wind, and he'll keep going. You know, it's when he's doing all the swinging and missing.
Yeah.
Is when it gets a bit annoying. But yeah, if you're gonna let him tee off on you, that's a bit different.
What for you is his best performance?
Eubank Jr.
Eubank Jr. Because I'm like, if we just go on best performances,
Read out you got his box straight up there.
yeah, I got his box. So I'll read out what I think are his best wins. Yeah. Now the internet wants to be moving slow. Okay, so it's still moving slow, but we know he's had the girl. Let's see. Arthur Abraham, James DeGale, Yildirim, Nick Blackwell, Gary O'Sullivan. Yeah.
See, I just remember all of them being similar. You know what?
That's about it.
There were, and this was very early on.
Chudinov. Who fought Chudinov?
Was it?
Was it Groves?
I think Groves fought him. Yeah, I think that's when Groves won the title.
He just lost to Jermaine
Potentially.
Brown, actually. That's wild.
But you know when there's a time when there was a moment in the second half of the Billy Joe fight.
Yeah.
When Eubank showed that he knew what to do in there. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the fight, he was arguing that he won the fight.
Yeah.
Which he didn't. But
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, where was this in the first 6 rounds? And he literally just threw away the first 6 rounds to Billy Joe.
And I got to say this, and this is what is wild. For that fight, his dad was working the corner. His dad hasn't been standing in the ring doing the muzzle. His dad ain't been working the corner for all of the fights. But look, his dad, if we can see that, his dad can see that. So what was going on between round 1 and 7?
He must just be stubborn.
It could be that, yes.
But he's old now. So like he's
But
older.
still, and this is what I'm saying about Roy. As much as Roy is a sick fighter, so is Eubank Sr. Can you get the point across, like, properly? You know what I mean? Like, Eubank Sr. was obviously telling him what, because I remember hearing it. He was telling him what he needed to tell him, but it's like, can you get the point across? Like, is the enthusiasm? I don't see Roy, like Teddy Atlas.
Yeah.
Have you seen how Teddy Atlas has grabbed up guys in the corner?
Like Tim
Like-
Bradley and that. Yeah.
Bro, what's the one that fought George Foreman, the Southpaw? Michael Mora.
Yeah.
Timothy Bradley, you know, like that kind of passion and
The firefighter.
the firefighter thing. Like, I don't see Roy doing that in round 9, 10 when it's tough. Dom Ingle can do that. He's done it with Kell Brook. He's never been a successful, you know, world level fighter.
Yeah.
I didn't see that from Eubank Senior. I don't see that from Roy Jones Jr. I can see it from Adam Booth maybe in a different way.
I guess with this Roy Jones thing, we do have to give it time, because as much as you're saying we don't see it from him, we haven't
But bro,
seen.
there is no time, and I gotta say that because
there's no time with Eubank.
No, because the Liam Williams is right now.
Oh yeah, I know. I hear that. No, but what I'm saying is, you've got to. We haven't, like you said, Roy Jones is very unproven as a coach.
Yeah,
I think this might be his first kind of high profile. Who else has he worked with?
I don't think he's worked with
I'm sure he worked with someone else. Either way,
I don't think he works corners. I think he trains guys.
And he just
But I've not seen him work a corner. He's worked with Pascal.
Was it Jean Pascal?
Yeah, he definitely worked with Jean Pascal.
In the corner.
Yes.
I'm sure I've seen him in the corner somewhere.
He worked with Jean
Either
Pascal.
way, either way,
corner.
we've got to give him benefit of the doubt that if it does get there,
yeah, I wouldn't.
He can do it. But
about Roy.
yeah, do you know what I mean? However, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, it's just it's strange that it's taken a. Like, I don't know. I just with Eubank Jr. it just baffles me, man. Like, I just don't know what goes on
in the camps.
In them camps, like he puts a lot. He's very open with like his training and all this, and like we said, we see a lot of sparring videos. But I don't know what kind of conversations these guys are having about his career and where they want him to go. And obviously promoters and managers are just going to say, oh yeah, Triple G's this, that. Yeah. But in terms of like when guys are training and they're in the train, like what are you working on?
I know what you mean.
What are you working on? Because you see the same Eubank Jr.
all the time,
other than these last few fights where he's obviously trying to work on stuff now.
Yeah.
And this whole time he hasn't been working on anything in particular, just that uppercut. You know, like literally just throwing the uppercut in sparring, landing it every time. It's like there's nothing being learned there.
I know.
You might as well be hitting the heavy bag.
He feels like there's stuff that's being learned with Roy Jones. I feel like it could be going on up here. Like he's like probably deep in little gems that Roy is saying or demonstrating, and he's like raw. But the way he's trying to do it, for me, I just don't see.
The problem with that is that Roy Jones and
sorry, can I say this? Like, it's an unorthodox style.
It's a very natural. It's very. I think half the time Roy Jones was just working off what was in front of him,
and then
which made him so devastating.
And when people 100, and when people say, "Oh, you can't teach this or you can't teach that," whether it's football, track and field, or boxing, it's like, sorry, that threw me off. It's like because it's unorthodox.
Yeah.
It's an unorthodox move. It's not textbook. So how do you teach something that was never really taught? And it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so. But the fact that Eubank is over forcing it and trying to make it happen too much, I think is a bit of a worry for me. And then go on, you say what you're saying before.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things that Eubank Jr. has lacked a lot of is just the fundamentals, and that's something that Roy Jones
doesn't.
If anything, he didn't really have fun. He was just very good at.
Yeah.
He was very athletic.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best athletes we've seen in the sport. He could throw a punch. He could throw a shot from literally anywhere. And the reflexes were just...
Yeah, mad.
Do you know what I'm saying? So with all that combined, he didn't really need the fundamentals until he started slowing down.
Yeah. Am I going off topic here? Just go on, say what you're saying, bro.
So in terms of what he can give to Eubank Jr., probably not a lot.
Yeah.
Probably not a lot.
And also, I don't feel like... I'm just like, what does Roy have? I don't want to go off topic, but like, what benefit? Like, what does Roy get out of working with Eubank Jr.? He's someone who's not from your hometown.
Maybe it's a project, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's not from your hometown. It can't be a project because of his age, in my opinion. Like, he's obviously very cool with his dad. Like, Senior was very cool with Roy. But it's like, what do you like? How hungry is Roy? Like, Roy ain't got to prove nothing in boxing ever. He don't have to commentate, manage, promote, train. He ain't gonna do nothing.
He must see something there because he don't even.
I think he just loves boxing, and like
we've seen that with his own
exactly
career,
like overdoing it. But it's like people are drawn to him. But it's like he's not. He don't. I don't know. He don't know about Liam Williams. He don't. He don't care for these domestic Billy Joe. He don't care for these guys. He just about knows who they are. You know, he's from America. Is he gonna have the drive? Is he going to have the same drive that Adam... Because you know Adam Booth's going to have drive because of his relationship with Eubank Jr.
I don't know. Let's see what happens on
so
5th of Feb.
So that's the 5th of Feb on Boxer on Sky, with Boxer on Sky. I don't really know where the winner goes. I don't think if Eubank Jr. wins that he's still going to be calling the same names. He's still going to be calling for Triple G. They still want Triple G. It's always Triple G, a big fight with Triple G. That's like 3 years deep. He'll still probably call for Canelo, which he's been doing again for a few years.
Yeah.
And I think that is not even based on like, he says it after every fight, whether he wins or loses or good performance or bad performance. And I think that's just his name. Fine, whatever. At least he's willing to take the fights. And one thing I got to say about Eubank before we summarize, he's always in shape. And he's always fit, you know, so he brings his A.
Works hard.
Yeah, he works
just
hard.
maybe on the wrong thing.
Yeah, not smart. So, yeah, that's that. I mean, I don't know if Liam Williams beating Eubank Jr. based on Eubank Jr., based on who Jr. has won and lost to, I don't think it's enough for Liam to go and call out Triple G, which just goes to show that Eubank doing it is a name fight.
I think for Liam Williams, it might. I mean, this. I don't know how much he got for the Andrade fight, but potentially this is going to be.
It will be.
If not that fight, it's going to be his second biggest payday.
Oh, this will be his biggest payday. Yeah, it will.
So,
but I'm saying if he wins,
in terms of where he's going, it keeps him in the mix. It does keep him in the mix.
Yeah, no, he'll be in the mix to beat that name. But I'm just saying, like,
and he's only 29, you know. Williams. So he's relatively young in terms of he's still got a good solid 3 years to try and go and achieve the fight with Canelo, which is what everyone wants, really and truly.
But with all the question marks that just me and you forget the world have about Eubanks Jr., him beating Eubanks Jr., what does it... Like, okay, George Groves went and beat Eubank Jr., spanked him, let's be real. Then he got blasted by Callum Smith.
Yeah.
And it was only in the Callum Smith fight, which was his next fight, that we saw that George Groves was slyly, no disrespect, but he was slyly finished and flat. We didn't know that in the Eubank fight. We didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Which goes to show that it's like, did Eubanks really expose anything in Groves? Not really. Like, he didn't really show.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Liam Williams beaten.
But it's different weight class though, isn't it? And Callum Smith was a beast at the super middleweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think for Liam Williams, it might not. It's not going to propel him in terms of where he is right now. But it definitely keeps him where he is and shows people that he's got something.
That he's
there.
like fringe world level.
Yeah,
Eubank is fringe world.
He's definitely there and thereabouts, and will be thereabouts if he can show that he can beat someone like Chris Eubank Jr., you know?
Yeah.
So, it'd be an interesting fight. But I think it's a very dangerous fight for Eubank Jr., considering where he's trying to go.
Because if he loses, isn't it?
If he loses...
But you say that, but I don't want to keep going on about this, but he's lost domestic fights already.
Yeah, but at this stage, though, I
don't think it matters with him.
No,
bro.
Listen, he lost the George Groves fight. That was a world title fight. Yeah, it was in the Super Series. It was in the It was in the Super Series. The other fight he lost, Billy Joe, was very early doors.
Yeah,
and there was all the improvements in the world to make.
But what I'm trying to say to you is that they're domestic clashes, and because this will be his third domestic clash that he's lost.
But I'm saying he might not be finished after this, but considering where he wants to go, Triple G, that's gonna be. Look, that fight's gonna be.
I think it's already. They need to allow it anyway.
In terms of where Triple G is now, like that fight's not going to happen.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah.
If he loses to Liam Williams.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our predictions and thoughts on that fight. I don't know about the undercard. If I'm honest, I haven't necessarily heard anything, but I think that's the next fight happening in the UK, February 5th on Sky Sports. Is it pay-per-view? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it must be.
Must be pay-per-view. Yeah, so it will be Liam Williams' biggest payday. Okay, heavyweight action, just quickly. We've heard that the WBC have agreed for an 80-20 split in favour of Tyson Fury. To my understanding, and mandatory challenger is normally 60-40.
See, I didn't know none of this.
Yeah, so, and I feel like I've heard...
I mean, that's wild, 80-20. That's...
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, it's percentages, so 20% of a large amount of money is still going to be a good amount of money, and still potentially Dylan White's biggest payday. Me, I'm kind of a thing of, as long as you're getting, if it's your biggest payday,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be concerned with what the other guys make.
Yeah.
To an extent, you shouldn't be concerned
Yeah.
with what the other guy's making.
Nigel Benn said that one.
If you're really going in there to go and win that belt and prove that you're the best in that ring,
Mm-hmm.
then as long as you're getting paid enough, which from if it's your first world title fight, it should, on paper, it should be your, obviously there's no rule that says it, but it should be your biggest payday. If anything's going to be your biggest payday, it's going to be your first world title fight.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as it's clearing whatever you've made in the past,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't worry about what Tyson Fury is going to take home.
Yeah.
Go and beat him,
Yeah.
and then be the shot caller.
I agree.
You know, and he's done this before.
Yeah.
It was a bit different because he was arguing about the rematch,
The purse for the rematch.
the purse for the rematch,
in the Anthony Joshua fight.
and for Anthony Joshua, and he went and turned down the fight based on what he was going to get
In the rematch.
in the rematch.
Which
and
is, that was 3 belts at the time.
3 belts, and look what Anthony Joshua went and did after that. He went and fought Ruiz and got
Lost. Yeah, he lost.
beat,
And that could have been
and Dylan White would have beat him that night.
yeah, on that performance.
On that performance, Dylan White would have beat him.
Yeah.
And look where Dylan White would be right now.
And he's about to.
He probably might have even beat him in a rematch.
And he's about to repeat that same mistake.
You know, you can't get caught up on what the other guy's making if you're already making more than you've ever made. It's for me, and it's obviously you're both putting your life on the line. You're both risking it all going in there. But thinking about you're just getting caught up too much in the. Someone needs to just tell him to forget about the percentages. Look at what that is compared to what you've last made. If it is only 100 grand more than what he made in the last fight, then yeah, that's a bit different. If you need to make more money, that's different. But don't need to make more money based on what the other guy's making.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's almost like
Imagine everyone did that against Canelo.
yeah. And this is the thing.
No one would want to fight him.
This is the thing.
You know what I'm saying? So,
And going back to when he did it with AJ, when AJ went and looked for Baby Miller and Ruiz, they was getting the same amount of money,
yeah.
and they took it.
It's like some pride, some weird
it's
pride
like a
thing,
pride
you know?
or a it is.
And I do like Dylan. Dylan. I like where he's come from. I like, obviously, South London boy. He's come up the hard way fighting in the leisure centres and whatnot. But that's just, it's crazy.
If he does it again.
And then you go on about how long you haven't had a shot at the world title. The AJ fight was there for 5 mil.
Yeah.
5 mil, and you could have won the fight.
And a rematch. If you thought it would be a guaranteed rematch if you think you're gonna win.
It's a mad, frustrating decision-making process that he's gone through, and it's like he just don't like the other guy's gonna make so much money when the other guy's the bigger draw anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
I saw, and I don't mean to do the historian thing, but when Riddick Bowe fought Evander Holyfield for the second time, you know what the split was, bruv? It was 90-10 to Riddick Bowe. And Evander took it and won.
And went and won. See, that's
bro,
real.
90-10.
That's a real, I mean,
90, bro.
We don't know.
To fight
Evander
Riddick
could have
Bowe,
been,
but to fight Riddick Bowe.
But Evander could have been bankrupt and just needed anything.
I don't
You
think
never
he
know.
was at the time.
No, but you never know.
Yeah. But that's when you say you're a fighter, I just got to say
you're a fighter first.
You're a fighter first.
You're a fighter first.
He'd already lost to Riddick Bowe in the first fight, so he was already a world champion. He'd already unified at cruiserweight, so he's got bread, he's got peas, he's stable, his legacy is cemented. So he don't. So if Dylan is arguing over 20, never been a world title, never had a world title, but then you got Evander, unified at cruiserweight, already been heavyweight world champion, and he's taken 10%.
He's already got weight.
And he found and this is early 90s. He ain't taking 10% against Mike Tyson. There's no one else who can demand that kind of money where you take 10% and you still get paid, other than Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, and Canelo Alvarez. So, yeah, you're a fighter first. I don't want to see him make that same mistake, and because if the WBC have agreed
we're doing all this discussion, we got to make it clear that we don't know how much money that is, and it could be a ridiculously low amount of money. Yeah. So, but
if the WBC have agreed it, I'm just like, who's he gonna he's contested it, but how's that gonna really go?
He ain't gonna get around it, and if it ends up in him not fighting for that belt, I worry for him, man. Yeah, I worry for him.
I was gonna say also, if we look at like what each fight, and I don't know how these purses are made, so I don't wanna, but I'm just guessing. If we look at what Fury has made, last year he made more than AJ, 17.8 million
in purse.
in purses, not sponsorship.
Yeah.
He's fought Wilder 3 times. You know, he's been the Ring Magazine, the guy who beat the guy who beat the guy. Like, if you weigh them up, you know, Fury's #1 heavyweight in the world. His purses have been bigger. All of his purses have been bigger, I guess, than Dylan's, maybe other than the AJ one.
I think AJ's pay-per-view money might have been more though.
Who you comparing? No, I'm comparing Dylan and Fury.
Oh, Dylan. Sorry.
Yeah, Dylan and Fury. So I'm just like, I can kind of see, even though 80-20 is a bit wild, I can kind of see where it's like, bro, come on. Like, how much, like, I think he made $1 million and a bit last year.
I mean,
and Fury's made 17. So
I personally don't see why, as much as I'm saying Dylan can't make that same mistake again, I'm saying that for legacy purposes. But at the same time, I don't really see where 80-20 has come from.
Why is it not 60-40?
Like, it is, that's a big, even 70-30, then at least someone's getting a third of the money. But
I just don't see why, if it's a normal mandatory defense, it should normally be 60-40. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why they've made it 80-20 or agreed to that.
But either way, if Dylan's really game, if he really thinks that he will go in there and win the fight, which I'm sure he does, go and win the fight, man. Yeah, go and win the fight, and then once you got that belt, you call the shots.
Yeah, because the heavyweight division, like there's like he'll go fight Usyk, he can rematch Fury. I mean, he will rematch Fury. Yeah. I'm guessing if it's for Fury's belt. Usyk is
the
there.
AJ fight.
AJ is always there. Yeah. But I just don't want to see him have to have more hard stay ready fights. You know, Oscar Rivas or I don't want to see him.
That's becoming his legacy now.
Yeah, and that's why we big him up, because he fights all the hard
these risky fights.
But it's just high risk, low reward. Like, why not just take that fight? Just want to mention this: Luis Ortiz stopped Charles Martin. Did you see the stoppage?
Yeah, man. It was a bit like, you know, that girl that got stopped, the woman boxer that got stopped.
Yeah. By the American.
Just like soul left his body, like,
bro, it's like
dangerous. And I don't know what the ref was doing though, because the ref, bruv, when the woman got stopped like that, the ref jumped in straight away. Bruv.
I think that one was more obvious. Charles's one was like this.
No, he looked like he was trying to chat to someone.
It's like someone called his name and
he should have laughed.
It's like no, it's like someone called his name and he looked out. But
yeah,
impressive from Ortiz. Like, we don't know how old he is. People throw around numbers, but he's definitely like old.
He's always been dangerous though, man.
Yeah. And but he got dropped twice in that fight.
But do you remember in the Wilder fight? Yeah. And the ref jumped in. Yeah. And basically stopped the fight.
Yeah. In favor of Wilder.
But then the fight continued. And it wasn't a stoppage, but Wilder was rocked. Was it Kenny Bayless? I feel like it was Kenny Bayless.
I don't know who the ref was.
I don't know why I feel it was Kenny Bayless, but either way, like Ortiz has always been dangerous, and he's someone that I think he had a few like drug test issues in the past.
Yeah, he's had a few.
So I think maybe he's like discredited a little bit, which I think always is always going to discredit a fighter a little bit. But yeah, man, it'd be interesting to see where Ortiz goes, because boy. Yeah.
He's still dangerous.
He's gonna be like stopping guys like that.
Yeah, he's still dangerous.
You know what I mean?
Okay, anything else that you wanted to bring up or mention for this episode?
No, man.
I know we spoke about this before in episode. When did we talk about Khan and Brook?
That was
episode 3, because this is 5.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I've been seeing Khan training. He seems to be. I know he's got to sell the fight, but he seems to be, saying that this is going to be his best performance so far. He is training with like the best people in the world, in Shakur Stevenson, Terence Crawford, and what's his coach's name? Terence Crawford's name? Bomac.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of buying into that talk, if I'm honest. I don't know if it's going to be his best performance, but like he's saying things like, we don't take days off here. My body's just adjusting to not taking days off. Never trained this hard before. And because of who he's training with, I'm buying into it. Not because he's saying it, and not because he's trying to sell the fight, but it's because of who he's training with. And I'm thinking, if he's saying that's why these guys are having success, although we know there's other factors, it'll be interesting to see. And
I don't think Amir Khan's trying to lose this fight at all. But also, I don't think he's ever been guilty of probably not working. If you consider who his coaches have been in the past, Freddie Roach, Virgil Hunter,
but they've all been
them
wrong
man
for him,
there.
bro.
Them man there ain't gonna train him if
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And he's probably just built up that work ethic over time.
Yeah.
As much as this fight is gonna be a payday for both of them, neither one of them is gonna want to lose because this is like years in the making, years of tormenting each other.
For some reason, in the back of my head, just quickly, I feel like Kel is just fighting for money. I really do.
Potentially. I mean,
I feel like
he's the one that's been lesser paid of the both.
And I feel like what
time.
he did with Crawford, the whole changing trainer, going over to America and just training with some random guy,
indicated that.
It just indicated that, you know, I think he's been doing that for a while and it hasn't worked out for him. I think Tony Bellew did it towards the back end of his career, calling out David Haye, but it worked for him.
Yeah.
But it's like taking the Triple G fight, then taking the Spence fight. He's been doing it for a while, and I just think it's a money.
This is the thing with Amir Khan. Just on the money point, Amir Khan probably doesn't need the fight the way some people would. He's been very successful financially, and from what I know or what I've read, he's done quite well outside of boxing in terms of where he's put his money. So, yeah, man. I mean, no one's going to turn down, 7 million?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
So,
and that's, just to summarize, that fight is, I think, 2 weeks after the Eubank Jr. fight. So we've got some good shows coming up in February, and we'll be back to discuss them and evaluate them maybe first week in March or end of Feb. So yeah, that's episode 5, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you all had a happy New Year and a good Christmas. Like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on Instagram at All Things Boxing. Take care.